So, welcome to this edition of Caregiver University. Today, I'm going to be talking about avoiding scams targeting the elderly. And my name is Courtney Stewart. I work for Purdue Extension in Monroe County as the Health and Human Sciences Educator. So, the first thing I want to talk about are some of the reasons that elderly people might be targeted for scams and fraud. Um, there's often the perception that seniors are naive or gullible, and scammers might take advantage of the fact that some seniors are isolated. They may not get out as much, so they might be easier targets. Ease of trust. A lot of times there's the perception that seniors will believe anything, and oftentimes they are very trusting. So that can make them more susceptible. Seniors typically have higher savings accumulated just because they have probably retired. They've had a lot of time in their life to make their money. They might be a little bit less technologically savvy than younger people. And often seniors can be lonely, or they're looking for a purpose in their life. So a scammer may pick up on this, and it may be a good opening for them to step in and begin conversations with seniors with the purpose of trying to gain access to a bank account. Some seniors tend to be more trusting, and they're very willing to help younger people, which is a good quality. But with the wrong person, that can be a problem. So I want to talk about some common scams recently due to the coronavirus. So these were as of May 2020. So a vaccine scam can look like a phone or a social media scam. So someone's claiming to be a medical organization. They might say they have a dose of vaccine, or looking for a payment for this vaccine via phone. There is no vaccine as of yet. So if you encounter this, be very suspicious. Charities seeking donations for families who have been affected by the virus, or perhaps from the economic fallout due to coronavirus. If you want to give to a charity, make sure that you never give via cash, gift cards, or wiring money. News sites may have malware or malicious software and spyware attached to them. So if you're on a news site and it's for Johns Hopkins and you click on it, make sure that it goes to that website and it doesn't go to another website like a coronavirus map. That's something that might indicate you are on a false website. So there may be services being offered, fraudsters posing as people who can come and clean your house to potentially get rid of the virus, or businesses related to this. Legitimate businesses do not call customers randomly to solicit them. So if that's happening, be very aware of that and be suspicious of that. Cures, there might be businesses that claim to have cures for the virus, or misbranding products. So if they're touting things like teas or essential oils, colloidal silver, saying that they're treatments for coronavirus, or they could be used as a preventative, that is incorrect. There's currently no vaccination for the coronavirus, and anything preventative would only be available through a hospital or a doctor. So I want to talk a little bit about some common fraud tactics that are used on seniors. So a fraudster might be very friendly and approachable. They like to make people think that they're on their side. They might try to instill fear or a sense of urgency, so you don't feel like you have a lot of time to think or act about what they're trying to get you to buy or donate to. Appearing to be very helpful in order to gain your trust. So the idea here is that they're trying or hoping to get the victim, in this case, to repay a favor later on. They might use emotional arousal to skew judgment. Researchers at Stanford found that when elderly people are in a state of high emotional arousal, they become more interested in buying things that are falsely advertised. They may pretend to be associated with a reputable company, an agency, or a charity, so they're faking legitimacy. And they might be very ambiguous about the subject or distracting the victim. So this is an attempt to confuse. So be aware of that. This next slide, these are some of the popular scams targeting the elderly. So I'm going to go through these and talk a little bit about each one. Health insurance scams are very common. Someone will pose as a Medicare representative, and they may tell the senior they need a new Medicare card, and they need your social security number in order to do that. They may ask payment to help navigate the insurance landscape. They might tell a senior that they need a new supplemental policy or policies. And then when they get the personal information, they can use that money to take the payment for themselves. Charity scams, which I mentioned briefly, they might call or approach an elderly person. So this would be sort of an identity theft. This tends to happen after natural disasters, also during a time such as now when we have a pandemic going on. Or they might be posing as someone who's seeking to help someone, like local firefighters. Internet fraud is very common. So this can look like fake virus pop-ups that are on your computer, or they might also be real viruses where you will have to pay to have them removed from your computer. Identity theft can happen through fake websites that you click on or emails. These are called phishing scams. So they gather your personal information, and they might be using a fake email address, but it looks legitimate. Might be asking for banking information or other personal identifying information. You want to avoid clicking those types of links. Technology or computer support scams. These can be done via phone, where someone calls and they offer to install some free basic software for you. And then they're able to access the software for free, but they'll charge you a large fee in order to install this. They may offer a senior discount and trying to get your bank information, and they may try to link to your computer. So they're posing as tech support people. Never let anyone access your computer unless you know for a fact that they are trustworthy. Lottery or fake prize scams. So they might trick you into thinking that you've won some money and you have to wire them money to pay for some fees or taxes in order to get your prize. If this happens, it's more likely to happen. So people get added to what are called sucker lists. And these are solicitors who know that they've been able to take an advantage of an individual. They then share that information with other telemarketers and unscrupulous people. So this is something to look out for. According to the US Attorney General, these fake prize scams account for about $1 billion a year via fraud. Counterfeit prescription medications. These can be online scams with fake medications that offer better prices. They might prey on seniors who may be living on retirement or Social Security income, and they want to save money on their prescriptions. Fake anti-aging products. Many seniors, like a lot of people, are trying to look and feel younger, so they're going to seek out new treatments or products. These can be costly products, treatments. They're usually do nothing, or they might be harmful, but the point is that they really don't do anything and they cost a lot of money. The grandparent scam is something to look out for. This is where a perpetrator will call saying that they're either a family member or they're representing a family member and they need money wired for rent or medical bills or some other fake expense. Often they ask the senior to not say anything because the person wants to keep it private. Facebook has been used in this way. Also, dating sites are used in this way. Scammers seek to gain trust and then they'll ask for money. And sometimes they'll pose as lonely US soldiers that are serving overseas, and that is also a scam. Investment schemes, scammers may pose as investment advisors to gain access to funds and accounts. If they get the information, your bank account information, they will take the money and run. Often these are centered around property and timeshare deals. Mortgage scams, many seniors own their own homes. So if they receive a letter stating that they can reduce their tax burden, and it's a fake letter, but they have to pay a fee up front, they should call their county assessor's office directly if they're in doubt, because that could very well be a scam. Homeowners who have done a reverse mortgage are also frequently targeted, as when you have a reverse mortgage, it's a sign of unlocked equity. So scammers are very quick to pick up on that. Funeral fraud, this is as bad as this sounds, it does happen. Scammers look at obituaries to find their targets. They may even show up at funerals, or they get contact information by saying that the recently deceased person had outstanding debts and they need to be paid. Some funeral homes will tack on additional and unnecessary charges. So try to have an idea of what a funeral costs and some of the costs associated with that. Magazine sales. These are often young people who are going door to door selling magazines to raise money. Once the money is given, no magazine arrives. So they might be asking for payment via debit card, credit card, or you can write them a check. Not all of these are scams, but sometimes they are. IRS imposter scams, these can happen over email, over the phone, or in person. So a fake IRS agent will say that you owe taxes and that you may face jail time. The goal is to get your financial and account information and take the money. If this happens, you need to immediately hang up. If you're in doubt, you can call the IRS directly. Requests for credit card or debit card payments via phone. That's something the IRS typically does not call and directly ask for that type of payment. Requests to pay with gift or prepaid cards. Agents who refuse to give their badge numbers or other ways to verify their legitimacy. You need to be very aware of that. And if they demand payment right away. So telemarketing is one of the most common scams. Seniors can get hooked into this. They might be offering free trials, extended warranties, investment opportunities, free or cheap travel, prizes, advanced loans. They might represent themselves as IRS agents, investors, bank officials, family members. And then if scammers are able to get away with this, they will pass on the victim's information to other con artists. So again, legitimate financial institutions do not call and solicit information. So I'll talk about a couple of the telemarketing scams. The pigeon drop. This is where a large sum of money is offered in exchange for a smaller sum. So, hey, we need you to pay these taxes or these fees so that we can then send you the rest of the money. Usually there's a second or third person involved in the scam, posing as a lawyer to make it look more convincing. There is the fake accident scenario. They will say that a victim's family member is sick or in need of money for medical care. Again, this usually involves a second scammer posing as a police officer or maybe a doctor or a lawyer. And then the last one is robocalls. These started getting very popular around 2017. So they use pre-recorded calls to get the victim to say yes. So for example, if you've ever picked up your phone and the first thing you hear is, "Are you there?" and your response is yes, then they use your voice signature to be able to put charges on credit cards or other charge cards. So now that we've gone over some of the many different scams that seniors might be more susceptible to, I want to talk about ways to protect yourself or a loved one from fraud or scams. So you need to be aware that you're at risk from strangers, and you're also sometimes at risk from those who are closest to you. 90% of elder abuse and scams is definitely an example of elder abuse, are committed by persons that the elder knows. So it's family. It could be adult children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews. It can look like depleting a joint account, promising but not delivering care in exchange for money or property, or just outright theft. So everyone is at risk of financial abuse, even if you do not have high income or assets. Isolation is a risk factor, and that is because the less connected you are, you're more vulnerable. So if you can stay active in your life, stay active in your community, keep connections going so you have people that will look out for you and people who know you and will help you. You always want to tell solicitors, "I never buy anything from or give to anyone who calls or visits me unannounced." So ask for them to send you something in writing, and then wait till you receive that information. And never donate if it requires you to write your credit card information down. So a good practice is to get that business license number, some form of identity, and the contact information. You want to shred all receipts that have any bank information or personally identifiable information. So getting a paper shredder is a really good idea. Monitor your bank and your credit card statements, and don't give out your personal information over the phone. You can also use and sign up for the do not call list and take yourself off of multiple mailing lists. Another thing is you don't want mail to gather in your mailbox. If you're not able to get your mail, have someone do that. That can be a sign that maybe someone's not home, and you could be taken advantage of. They could take the mail out of your mailbox. So when you're sending out sensitive mail, if you're able, you can drop it off directly at the post office. You can also check your credit ratings. www.annualcreditreport.com is a good place to do that. You want to make sure that you use direct deposit for your benefit checks if you're able to do so. That ensures that your money goes directly into your account. Never give personal information, your account information, over the phone. The misuse of Medicare dollars is one of the biggest scams. So common schemes with this include billing for services that are never delivered, selling unneeded devices or services to people who are on Medicare. So protect your Medicare information just like you would your credit card, your driver's license, your social security number. And in general, try to have a healthy sense of skepticism about any unsolicited offers and do your research. So if you're thinking of purchasing something or making a donation, do some research, talk with someone you trust before donating large sums of money. You want to carefully read contracts and purchase agreements, and don't let yourself be pressured into making a purchase or signing a contract. Take your time. So if you have been taken advantage of, here are some things that you can do to keep yourself safe, to keep your loved ones safe. You want to reach out to someone you trust. A lot of seniors get taken advantage of and they're embarrassed. They don't want to talk about it and they don't let anyone know. So if you can let someone know and report the details, you may prevent someone else from getting taken advantage of in that same way. You can consult the AARP list of resources for scams. That's the American Association of Retired Persons. So the website is there. There's the phone number, 1-877-908-3360 if you want to report a scam. It's a good idea to keep local police station and bank numbers close by in case you need to access those and report something suspicious. And again, if you're suspicious of anything, whether it's an email, a phone call, a visit, a website, do a basic Google search or have someone that you know and trust check that out for you. And then the last thing that I'm going to talk about are some signs to look for. If you're a caregiver and or you have loved ones. So if you're seeing unusual or recent changes in that person's accounts, such as withdrawals, a new person being added to the account, or the sudden use of a senior's ATM or debit card, you want to be very suspicious of that. If the senior appears confused or afraid, if utility, rent, mortgage, medical, or other essential bills are going unpaid, despite the fact that there is adequate income. If a caregiver who is providing care does not allow you access to the senior, that is a definite warning sign. Be very suspicious of that. If you're noticing piled up mailings, magazine subscriptions, and free gifts, this could mean that they've been put on what is referred to as the sucker list. I talked about this in an earlier slide. You can also call Adult Protective Services. This is essentially like the 911 for elder abuse. So if you need, if you've got a friend who's older or you're worried about, you can call them and they can initiate a check on that person and make sure that everything is okay. So these are some of the resources that I used in the presentation. If you have any further questions, you're welcome to contact me because Purdue has quite a few resources. That is my contact information. So the phone number is 812-349-2575, and that is the email that you can contact me at. So thanks so much for joining me. And that is everything for today.